I wanted to continue the last bit of our discussions on the ethical considerations we're looking at in AI work. And we talked about, biases inherent in training data, in historical data, in our own perceptions as we write our algorithms. But I'd like to really examine that idea of bias a little more carefully. In addition to thinking about what does my current interpretation and algorithm inform me of, I'd like to think about where it casts my direction moving forward. There's no way to know an algorithm is neutral because it carries with it everything each programmer and trainer and interactor brought to the data. Someone somewhere is the person who makes the decision. Even if that decision is, I went to the AI, typed a bunch of stuff in, and I got an answer. If I'm the person that does that, I'm responsible for the decision. In the early 1950s, as computerized census tabulations became more and more common, the idea that a computer would decide, which at that time was the realm of science fiction, was brought up in Congress. And a senator, whose name unfortunately escapes me, said, no one elects a computer. You elect a senator, you elect a representative, you elect a president. People make decisions, regardless of the tools they use to do them. That means you have to have someone's name signing off. I mentioned privacy in passing. The advantage to using Gemini through our school Gmail accounts is that it is unconnected to the training data in Google's use. If I go to ChatGPT, even if it's not a paid account, I have to consciously make an effort to silo my data. Otherwise, they'll eat it. Do any of you have an Easy Pass? That means the state of Pennsylvania knows exactly where your car is at every minute of the day. You put an RFID transmitter in your car that operates at a distance of about 40 feet. Because it has to catch your information as you drive under that giant overarching bridge in the toll plaza. In the smaller ones, like here in Greensburg, you have to drive through it fairly slowly. In Florida, you can use the Sun Pass at 70 miles an hour. It's got to read your data in a split second at a distance that clears the semis underneath it, even when they're double stacked. Voluntarily, to make it easier for you to pay your tolls, pay a tax to the government, you put a radio transmitter in your car. How many of you have seen a commercial for Progressive Insurance, auto insurance? They have a driving monitor available in a number of states. Anybody know what this thing is?
This will adjust your insurance based on how fast you drive.
Not just how fast you drive, how far you drive, where you're driving, your acceleration and deceleration patterns. Are you a person who stomps on your brakes and floors it off the line at a stoplight? All of those pieces of it. How do they get that information? You don't report it. They put a transmitter into the onboard diagnostic port of your car, the same way that your mechanic reads what's going on in your engine, Progressive Insurance reads what's going on in your engine. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they adjust your insurance rates based off of it. What's the trade-off? They're going to know where you are, how long you've been there, when you went, when you came home. They know everything about your driving habits. You gave it to them. That's a trade-off. How do I keep my information? How does Progressive keep my information private? This is where you need somebody in cybersecurity on your team. You need somebody who has the ability to talk about data security, not just our analysis procedures, but the security behind them. How do you encrypt it? How do you do good, strong passwords? How do you keep those passwords protected? Do you know the easiest way to break into someone's password? Break into their computer account? Watch them type their password in. Just watch them. You want to steal somebody's PIN number off their ATM? Just watch them. You don't even have to be close, right? Camera on my phone's good for probably 300-400 feet. I can sit nice and far away, put a camera at the ATM, watch you put in your card, read the numbers off the picture, watch you type in your code. I don't have to be anywhere near you. Privacy is a physical item as well as an electronic item. But to go with that, we have to add transparency and accountability. If I, again, am the person who decides I'm going to give all of this information about my driving to Progressive Insurance for a better rate, I need to ensure I know what they're doing with that information. If I ask an AI a question, I need to know how it arrives at that answer. Problem is that AI is a black box. Unless we have human beings to talk to about how those decisions get made. The AI models used by the banks to decide on approval or denial of loans were criticized for being completely opaque. That made the news. Articles linked on our Canvas page. So if I'm using an AI, how can I deal with this? If I'm building an AI for my business, training an agent, or designing a chatbot, what can I do? I need to make sure the system is transparent so that you know what data I looked at, what weights I gave to what, and can then, when I approve or deny your loan, know the rationale behind it. I need to document that somewhere. Somebody has to have a manual. And if you can't get to it, might as well not exist. And last but by no means least, some human being's name has to be on the line. I don't care whose it is, but if we don't have a single accountable individual, then you might as well be getting messages from God. And I sure as hell don't want to turn that job over to Grok AI. Okay. These are the primary pieces that I think of when I think of ethical considerations about AI. But again, recently in the news, we've seen other issues. Has anybody taken a ride in a Tesla? No? A Waymo? Autonomous driving vehicles. The car drives itself. Doesn't even have a steering wheel. We've had, in the past year, 6 deaths due to automatic drive cars. Teslas with self-drive engaged, or Waymos having accidents and killing people. Who knows what the trolley problem is? You have the internet in front of you. Google for me. Trolley problem. What is the trolley problem? Felix?
That was the point of being sacrificed. One person to save life, if nothing is allowed.
So it's a thought experiment. I have a trolley traveling down a track. If I do nothing, the trolley is going to crash into 5 people and they're all going to die. If I throw the switch and change the tracks, the trolley's going to run into 1 person. They're going to die. What should I do? Now replace me with an AI system. Switching train tracks automatically. Flying and a plane and landing it safely on a runway. Well, which runway do I go down? Well, if I go down this runway, I hit a fire truck, kill a bunch of people, like at LaGuardia last week. How can I know how the computer is going to prioritize lives? These seem like outrageously rigged, very far in the future ideas. Last week, the president talked about replacing all air traffic controllers with an AI system. How many of you have already had an internship? What did you learn to do? And I'm going to pick on you. What did you learn to do at your internship? How to make sales, right? So you started by shadowing somebody, working with them. But if they're using an AI prompt to design their sale calls, is that salesperson going to have a job much longer? So did you learn something that's going to be useful to you in the future? Maybe. Whose jobs am I going to lose? If AI is trained to be good at doing, and I promise this is not a slight on you at all, Helene, menial introductory tasks, will I have a need for interns? If I don't have interns, how do I get trained people eventually who will take over the upper level jobs? If I replace the startup jobs with AI behavior, how do you break into whatever industry you want to be in? I don't see very many people making buggy whips to drive horse-drawn carts nowadays. Do you? I mean, they say there is Amish country pretty close to us, and they use them occasionally, but not much. So that's a really niche market. What do you do with all these industries? If I replace AI in those introductory jobs? I have a quote I'm going to paraphrase that I saw online. The purpose of AI is to allow the wealthy to access skill while denying the skilled the ability to access wealth. If I can pay Suno to write my next hit, do I need a band? I really believe that the study of the liberal arts, anybody know why they're called the liberal arts? Has nothing to do with politics. Why are liberal arts called liberal arts? Come on, people, you're a liberal arts school. You never thought to ask what it means? Talk to me.
Because they were historically considered the essential subjects of a free person.
For a free person, someone who was not enslaved to a master, working their butt off in the field all day long, the essential skills of a free person: grammar, rhetoric, oratory, speaking, art, music, geometry, and arithmetic. The 7 classical liberal arts are math and English. The study of a free people. What have we done? We've decided that generative AI should do that. What are we doing if generative AI is doing poetry and art and music? This is an epistemological question, people. This is about the existence of human minds. Are you going to be a worker bee drone or a free person? Which way should AI be working for me? Okay, on top of all of these, water use, electric use, where do we put the data centers? All of those things have to be created, right? And I have heard nothing in the news except the not in my backyard people going, I don't want that data center now next door to me. It's going to run its fans all night long. I won't ever get to sleep again. It's going to drive up electric costs. It's going to make water more difficult to come by in my neighborhood because of all the cooling systems. If we all want this thing to be here, where do we put it? You've heard me rant, talk about AI and where it's going and what it's doing for the past 2.5 classes. Your turn. How many of you have already used AI in some class somewhere for some assignment? Don't tell me what it was. Don't tell me whether it was sanctioned or not. If you've used it, put your hand up. Most of them. Did it save you time? Did it save you effort? What'd you learn by using it? Now I want your feedback. Talk to me.
I'll prompt a question to find out what to.
So you learn how to write a question then. You learn how to ask a good question. And frequently that is the most difficult part, prompt engineering. How do I ask the question so I get the answer I want? Can I ask what the question was about?
She was talking about, I was just trying to make sure I knew what I wanted, how to do the issue.
So you needed to know that you had the definition correct so you could go do something. Okay. In a very real sense, that's a perfect use. Would you have gotten the same information from a Google search?
Maybe.
Maybe. Would it have taken more effort to do a Google search? Absolutely. And you have to assume that the AI read the same books you read and had access to the same information you had. But that's helpful, right? It taught me something so I could then go do something like that. Who else learned something from their AI use? The silence worries me. Most of you raised your hands. If you used your AI and it didn't help you and you didn't learn anything, why are you doing a school environment?
Helps explain things,
It helps explain things.
I understand, and then you can go on answer the questions.
So instead of turning to your classmate and asking them, hey, did you understand that? Instead of going to the tutor or the teacher, I turn around and I ask ChatGPT, right? Okay. I did that. I did that for this course. I did that to understand kurtosis better, so I could explain it to you when we were talking about our descriptive statistics. Because it's not a term I used all that much before. I read 3 different books, still didn't quite get it. I asked for a summary explanation in Gemini, and I got one. I kind of went, I think I get that. Let me go back and reread the books. Okay.
I was gonna say something, but I think it can help you understand different programs. There we go.
If I'm using something I've never used before, I get a primer on it out of an AI. Yes? I've been doing that on YouTube for years, right? I don't know how to operate or fix this thing. Let me go look on YouTube for a half an hour. Maybe I'll figure out how to tune my car better. Absolutely. But now the question is the trade-off. Before this, I would go to somebody's class. I would go to somebody who was an expert in that and say, help me. But now that expertise is, quote, free, right? And then the problem becomes, are they using the same platform? Are they using the same software? Are they using the same version? One of the things that for a very long time computer programmers did on a regular basis was they adjusted the software under the hood of their computers. Macs from OS 10 forward are written in Unix. Unix is an open source, free programming language. Which meant I could get under the hood of my MacBook, tear stuff apart, tweak it to do it the way I wanted it to. This is why iPhones versus Android phones was such a big deal. Because Android was the same thing. I could get under the hood and I could tweak an Android phone to do whatever I wanted. On the other hand, if you try and do something on an iPhone, it breaks. Sometimes if you try and use the things that are in the iPhone, it breaks. But that's a separate issue. Closed architecture, open architecture. Transparency, right? But if I wanted to learn how to do that, I had to know more about what was under the hood already. Getting my information and my instructions from a friend who was a programmer, a YouTube video, and now an AI. Again, you all are using this to learn something. I like this idea. How many of you saw the First Lady 48 hours ago give a press conference? I need you to look something up for me. I need you to look up Melania Trump Plato. Plato. What did the First Lady suggest? Wait. I would like you to understand the way in which AI will replace us all, including me, is right there in front of you. In the 1950s, Isaac Asimov wrote a story about how children learn at their auto teach in their living room, which was a cassette tape powered computer. You got the cassette tape mailed to you when you mailed in your assignments from the previous tape. They mailed you the next lesson. You put it in the tape player and you listen. Correspondence courses, anyone? Distance learning has existed since the 1800s. It just wasn't fast. Do you really want a humanoid-looking robot, because that's what she's standing next to in the press picture, to stand up here and teach you about art, music, literature? Is there any of that you couldn't do sitting in front of the TV screen you're sitting in front of right now? Why do you need a humanoid robot to do it? And once the people with any sort of expert knowledge are gone, who's going to write the code for Plato? What happens when that becomes a subscription model? How many of you have YouTube accounts? How many of you pay for them? Which means you watch ads, right? Or you put an ad blocker in there and hope it works most of the time. Can you imagine? This lecture today was brought to you by Gillette. If I'm teaching high school boys in 10th grade, I can advertise all of the men's health products, right? Razors and aftershave and body spray and soap and deodorant and all the rest of that. What am I going to advertise to the 10th grade girls? How targeted do I need to be if the robot is standing in the classroom daily, watching you, listening to you, and recording? And telling you, by the way, all about history, world politics, social sciences. I want you to think of the fact that anyone can write the code, but the rich will pay for it to be written. Just like textbook companies do today. If you have the access to the textbook on your Canvas page right now, grab the ISBN. Should be in our syllabus as well. And Google the book for this course. How much is it? How much does the book for this course cost? There's the book. The hardcover of this book is $160. The ebook is $48. You paid that. It was rolled into the Griffin book bundle, which you paid for, unless you opted out deliberately. I, by the way, was assigned this book. I did not have a choice in whether or not we were going to use this book. It was given to me before I even knew I was going to be teaching this course. But that's an important piece. A textbook publisher earned money from each of us when we bought that book. It's a lot of money to be made in just providing the information. If I put it in an AI robot or behind a YouTube screen, I have to make back my investment somehow. That's what the ads are for. So I can make back my money. Questions? What concerns do you have about AI use as we go forward? What excites you about it? What terrifies you about it? Talk to me. Yes.
Appropriate education,
Appropriate
education,
education.
if nobody does the work himself or whatever.
If nobody does the work themselves, will we know how to do the work eventually? There are entire pieces of science fiction, movies, TV shows, where humans run into this really weird piece of alien technology and they have no idea how it operates, and neither do the aliens, they just push a button. And if something breaks, they abandon it and go to the next one. We've seen dozens of pieces of fiction written in this way. We've seen entire cities that we don't know the purpose of and why they collapsed. That history exists here in front of us. There was the first colony in the Americas, in Roanoke, Virginia. Disappeared. We have no idea why. What happened? No idea. They're gone. But now I have the technology evolving in front of me going on at the same time. And if I don't know what it's doing or how to do it or what it's doing for me, then will I have those skills later? A question for you, but on that same vein. When is the last time you multiplied out numbers on paper and pencil? Do you remember how to do multiplication? 375 times 234. If I asked you to and gave you no technology except a pen, could you do that? Sure. I think I remember the algorithm well enough. How about division? 3,842 divided by 17. Take it out to at least 3 decimals. With only one tool. Well, maybe. But when's the last time you did it? On the other hand, when's the last time you used a calculator on your phone? Or on a computer, or an Excel, or something like that? Probably a lot more recently, yes? I absolutely remember my middle school and high school teachers telling me I would not carry a calculator everywhere. I would have to know how to do all these things in my head, because I wouldn't have. a calculator, which at the time was the size of your laptop, everywhere with you. Well, they're wrong, clearly. So there's a question there, Felix. Are the skills I am going to forget ones that will be missed? How many of you know how to saddle a horse? How many of you have ever saddled a horse? Now, mind you, it was 1983, but yet that was considered a daily necessity 150 years ago. I don't know how to plow a field either. Are the skills going to be missed? I don't know the answer to that. How many of you know how to sew? With a machine or without one? Do I need those skills? No, but somebody needs to have them because I need to pay to have my pants hemmed. Who do I go see? Right? I need a coat. I need somebody who knows how to make a coat. Now, maybe right now that person is in Burma or Vietnam or Thailand. Because that's where, when I look at the stamp inside the tag inside my shirt, hey, this shirt was made in India. This shirt was made in Vietnam. The shirt you're wearing, where was it made? That's a good question. Do we have those skills here? Do we need these skills here? The fact that we've forgotten them, what does that tell us? This is not a new argument. In the late 70s and early 80s, making products cheaper was seen as more important than making them locally because shipping got cheap. And that's when you saw jobs getting outsourced and offshore. And that's when the modern textile factories moved to the Far East. Most of the clothing in the world today is made in Eastern countries. India, Pakistan, Vietnam, Cambodia. And shipped around the world. The fabric itself is made there. We grow cotton here. Next to nobody in America processes cotton into cloth here. Am I going to miss the skills? Maybe. I will miss the ability to do critical thinking, which is a fairly uncommon process nowadays. Wouldn't you say? That's a problem, isn't it? One of the things an education is supposed to teach you is how to think slowly, deliberately, and critically. Yet the news is delivered me in 3-minute sound bites or less. I don't have enough time to think about the arguments on both sides, to discuss the ramifications of that sentence. If I did, every single news broadcast would last an hour per story. One of the reasons I actually like listening to in-depth news podcasts and talk radio, whether it's NPR or someone else, is because they will spend an hour on one story. But if I watch CNN, I get a story every 3 minutes, if not less. So if I want to build critical thinking, how do I do it? Even with an AI. I don't know the answer to that one, people. But sometime between now and the day you graduate, that question is going to get asked over and over and over. How do you think about the issues you want to talk? Since most of you have used an AI, I am assuming that the assignment for this section will be fairly straightforward. I want you to do some brainstorming. And I want you to use an AI to do it. I want a full copy of your interactions with your AI. Now, it says here to use the free version of ChatGPT. I don't think that's appropriate because this was written before Gemini was released to us as a siloed behavior. If you have a ChatGPT account, feel free to use it. But I would recommend that you use Gemini because then you won't get your data stolen for training purposes. And I know you have free access to that. Please notice this part. You'll be able to generate your AI prompts in less than a minute. You'll be able to refine them to whatever fashion you want. When it says copy and paste into your submission, I want the prompt you used as well as the results. Again, same thing here. I want the prompts as well as the results. And then I want your reflections. Your deliverables for this, again, for file upload, I don't care if it's Word, PDF, include all prompts and responses. And make sure you have your analysis in there. You've got the rest of this class period. I fully expect you can do this before today is over. But it's not due for another, 2 class periods? We've got time. Go to. Yes.
You read that.
I've read several versions of Feed. There are a number of equivalent books. The one I was thinking of when I was talking about it would be Sphere by Feed, which has a similar idea. It's a Deus Ex Machina device. But nobody knows how it works and we understand it. And this society created it and there are a lot of pseudo-dystopian behaviors kind of lead in that direction. In Wells's Time Machine, the discussion of why did you move here, what caused the schism from the above ground and below ground. But even more so, people living in their cities are slowly diminishing what they remember. James Glish's The Time Dwellers, which was the theme of the Academy Awards, which was based on, but this is still a short story. You think we can leave the short story to get garden, what the flower garden, starting encroaching. I've been reading science fiction since I was 10, and most of it my dad's watching it.
It was all up written in the beginning. It was start with everything.
It's the Cold War, it's the post-war fiction, and it's an examination of people. In the same way the Great Gatsby was an examination of political art. Right? So you've got a lot. The rise of computation devices and computers. devastating short stories of knowledge.
But tooling not spelled out very often. So you think that it's another. I mean, that's sort of the oxymoron, right?
There's a lovely short story. I think it's another Asimov story. Called Now. And in the midst of a war environment between two cities, with computers designing missile systems, beaming the launcher, setting who's going to shoot what there, a little programmer develops the algorithm for the machine listening to with a big, convoluted, expensive rooms, really expensive rooms. People who could have some way. Programmer Alb is rather distressed by this idea. Kind of clothing wise, and that's. And he's right. What will we lose? And will we miss it? As an aside, thinking about these insight generations here, I want you to picture how many people are typically involved in an advertising campaign design, and how many jobs I will take away by doing this with an AI rather than that group of people. This room has been silent for the last 10 minutes. You've all been looking just at your screens, interacting with your AI in this fashion. Advertising campaigns are about presentations and hooking people. None of you are talking to each other about it. Should you be? We're thinking about I have to go back and dig through them. Shut the
And the other part is humans. So people go back. One area, parents want they boldly humans. Was that these swallow these chips. So they, I mean, the guys that changed it. They didn't have to go to school.
Right.
Reset. But they went to school to learn how to stop. Because the advertisements even their business. So the parents decided the culture that they want to do. But what happens to our develops the ability to communicate to other people. And so when they were trying to go to jobs, interview. So they couldn't afford the one being character. How long this for because they realized this was going to be, but it was very important. But they also tried to assist her to only use it for educational purposes and to shop. So later, what ends up happening is it malfunctions, and they want it to be replaced. And the powers that be refuse to do with it, but she hasn't shown them. So they said she hasn't used it enough. Do that, it's just she was. And you remember,
Vaguely.
because she can't get replaced and it picks up then causes. So that human costs, like they were like stuck, like the people, the University of Canadian tried. You know, but they just, it was so so fast, so everywhere.
There's a reverse of this thing. What metamorphosis it is an online development. Yeah. People. I back myself up. And do it something and explore myself from that country.
Right.
What happens if I do it more than not? If I survive off the bat and I believe to that person, and then suicide is this instantiation of conflict, virtues, they get the memories they're gonna have to go. Small base human reaction. But people living in that and obviously I always would be engaging some of these accumulate. It's a atrocious moment. Yeah. But we'll all be the machines. What happens when you realize this? It doesn't matter. Only it does matter.
That's very deep.
It's a, but it's in the same vein of the original matrix. You realize what's the difference between these is the original hope that it's made is something like we have is not running 50 people. You access to that.
Like I said, I'm not into science fiction here. I read this book, I've seen this book was written, and then I couldn't believe how well I'm sure, like you said, the books that you read, it's the same. And I think we all realize what the problem's gonna be.
That novel.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm not sure I actually read that.
it's good to be. Like, the world has environment, basically the environment has deteriorated. Have people done?
Yeah, then I think that. Yes, regardless of what prompt you use, but I think you might want to try and personalize your prompt a little bit. Can you make it my prompt? Might give you the same answer, might give you a different answer. Is the answer you got something you like? Do you think it's? Remember, if you can have that conversation with the AI, yeah, remember the previous sentence. If you look at that prompt and go, all right. And what do you think? If you love them, great, tell me why. That's fine. That's why I said this could be the very quickest time. It's glossed over in what is.
Okay.
There's a period that we saw in the next generation movie, where they went back in time. And each one of the gentleman was the effect. He's not working to like in the middle. I'm able to be people in the middle of the wood.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm going to set up from the orders and so for the United Federation plans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they might not come up with this type of issues. But they don't have a lot of anything that was, and usually.
Yeah. I could see that there's so many, like you said, things we were talking about.
That's.
But that's the business that's happening. It's when people don't reason, they don't feel.
But I think like water, still always certain as a spouse, they're just not having the generation of the matrix. And the idea that there was a war between the aliens and humans, and seems like that, and then that's where it's really. It's literally more to the exposure. It should be moving on and no doubt that. Well, all possible. Probably. This is one of the families in the show about what we told you to ignore the say. It's the him and now it is. What's outside? We scorched the sky. There was a movie, but it used to be, it was a novel for Rogers and Watson. It's a post World War III, post nuclear real. But it is.
Is that like line drawing?
There are a lot of different versions. Version has the Valentine version. The Valentine version is a red, dusty background with this weird car.
Oh, okay. The one I'm thinking of is maybe the same thing. It's a line drawing up. It's a, I guess from the machine, you don't know, right? You can't make all this. Anyway, so
You do find a bush natural. I gotta get the medicine from this city to this city and look at what happened to the world in between. It's really the same story as the Kevin Costner postman. Look for love and zero getting from A to B. But look at the environment, drive the environment to Hunger Games, really a post-war city country.
no.
Why do we have the districts? Because it's the capital one now.
Yeah. Actually, my husband has that series.
Once I got through his first book, I'm sure it was the best of the underlying strategy was at 10 top. But so we couldn't go back to.
Yeah.
I read that as an adult fiction. I read it as a resource. But the things I read at 14, I probably should have read it.
Well, you had access to your dad's collection, I'm sure.
Yeah, some of the authors I read had disturbing stereotypes in their characters. There was some sort of who wrote post-scarcity. So everybody in the country is going to have to worry about money or things. Well, that means people are free to do the things that interest you. But turns out what about the rest of them? Or wandering art colonies, people in these RVs and those 10 million feet. Oh, circus. But Macron is it 50s out using his the race riots in anyways. Civil is not getting very clean. And he if you wait to so he said that's And just roll it off the tongues of somebody. I read those books. Right, plastic.
But you actually discern it.
Oh, yeah, I'm 15, I'm not so sure.
Did you accept? You didn't accept.
Well, not respect, right.
No, so,
Yeah, there was some rejection of that language, but at the same time. In one of his books, he makes a deliberate claim to, he's got a colony. So I'm on the university, but the colony space station. You know, only 8 people. And if you deal with the tensions along the country of the earth, there are all the moving colors sent one for each year. And to rely for them. They all. Will reach other. And what can you see, we use to accept. It's forcibly created version part. Leading the character prefer to each other, what would we consider racial elements, even when I was 80 years of age. And
but I think that there's in all literature, probably in all art, there is that. You can go back. You can also read these, I mean, you can look at.
we've got that human structure, what was socially accessible, those comics again. But even then, read
How it's used.
or read something that says this was appropriate in a work environment to increase to decrease the formality and rigidity. You sit the shoes of officer.
I think that's because the lines don't even help. Some places, and not in other places, so. But there's a creep.
Mhm.
And, yeah.
That's why we won't wear gloves and spats. The few people, but all of them use first period. They do. You know, today's cross classes.
Yeah.
Sister Anne was invited here. Sister Anne, in fact, was still over 50 years. She will not get very long, but she makes it the real that she comes to threat. There's the heat. Straight hosted by real. It's a wonderful city. You picture some here at dinner from 6:47. Yes. When Sister Susan was here at the stoop, they weren't still there.
Same but different. My daughter got his. We would read both Japanese. He would tell stories about some sisters. Yeah, he said his favorite was one of the sisters, and she was from where they didn't wear shoes. And she wore her hat and everything, but she did wear shoes. And so when she was around campus, she could, she didn't. But she just said, that's our tradition. And so, again, same but different.
I'm hoping that you're educated in that way. But we have students from I distinctly remember one of them in flip flops, shorts, and hoodie. So I think everybody is.
He's done trouble for a student. It's gotta be the same way.
Frozen looking.
Yeah, I'm very happy. whether or not that same young adult, it was, it wasn't dystopian or science fiction, but they ended up making a movie about it. The movie was very good.
A lot of those.
But it was a community in a dystopian future. Where they decided that emotions were not needed.
Moving with that.
I don't know.
Christian Day.
I don't know, but in this one, that, there was one person in a colony who, oh, the give up, that's the give up. Because he held the emotions for everybody else would take a role, so that they don't have the emotions. And then the character escapes the colony out into the world, and it ends like that, but you don't.
Right, it just kind of.
You don't know what's gonna happen, is that maybe you were thinking? But it's the same like idea that, like, these people, something was controlled, they just, you know, like, they were chosen to basically property, like, didn't have children, there was no, they had, you know what I'm saying, like, everything was good, and it was all controlled, yeah.
Absolutely. The problem with the issue involving before these emotional. We get finished, we get. One, and frustration. Appreciate it. We will not. That story. But man, that's one issue. No, but it is still. For what? It's just a simple. Feelings.
And he doesn't,
Right.
he doesn't. That's what it happens.
Exactly. What happens when it's dark? There's always some triggering event. Yeah. Somebody escapes.
It's very, very hopeful.
Exactly. In some fashion. I will see you all after Easter when you are finished. Enjoy your long weekend. If you are going to, be careful. So. What did I do? Oh, I hit the button.